Continuing with our reading from Daniel, Daniel tells the king the dreams and explains it. So Daniel went to Archon, whom the king had commanded to execute the royal advisers. He says to him, "Don't put them to death. Take me to the king, and I will tell him what his dreams mean." At once Archon took Daniel into the king Nebuchadnezzar's presence and told the king, "I have found one of the Jewish exiles who can tell your majesty the meaning of your dreams." The king says to Daniel, who was also called Beelzebub, "Can you tell me what I dreamt and what it means?" Daniel replied, "Your majesty, there is no wizards, magicians, or fortune tellers, or astronomers who can tell you that, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has informed your majesty what will happen in the future. Now I will tell you the dream, the vision you had while you were asleep. While your majesty was sleeping, you dreamt about the future, and God, who reveals mysteries, showed you what is going to happen. Now the mystery was revealed to you, not because I am wiser than anyone else, but so that your majesty may learn the meaning of your dream and understand the thoughts that have come to you. Your majesty, in your vision you saw standing before you a giant statue, bright and shining and terrifying to look at. It was made of the finest gold. Its chest and arms were made of silver, its waist and its hips of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. While you were looking at it, a great stone broke loose from a cliff, without anyone touching it, struck the iron and clay feet of the statue and shattered them. At once the iron, clay, bronze, silver, and gold crumbled and became like the dust on the threshing place in summer. The wind carried it away, leaving not a trace, but the stone grew to be a mountain that covered the whole earth. This was the dream. Now I will tell you, your majesty, what it means. Your majesty, you are the greatest of all kings. The God of heaven has made you emperor and given you power, might, and honour. He has made you ruler of all in the inhabited earth and ruler over all the animals and birds. You are the head of gold, and there will be another empire, not as great as yours, and that a third, an empire of bronze, which will rule the whole earth. And then there was a fourth empire, as strong as iron, which shatters and breaks everything. And just as iron shatters everything, it will shatter and crush all the earlier empires. You also saw that the feet and the toes were partly clay and partly iron. This means that it will be a divided empire. It will have something of the strength of iron because there was iron mixed with the clay. The toes, partly iron and partly clay, meant that the part of the empire will be strong and part of it weak. You also saw that the iron was mixed with clay. This means that the rulers of the empire will try to unite their families by intermarriage, but they will not be able to do any more than iron can mix with clay. At the time of those rulers, the God of heaven will establish a kingdom that will never end. It will never be conquered, but will completely destroy all those empires, and then last forever. You saw how a stone broke loose from a cliff, without anyone touching it, and how it struck the statue made of iron, bronze, clay, silver, and gold. The great God is telling your majesty what will happen in the future. I have told you exactly what you dreamt, and you have given you its true meaning. The king bowed to the ground and gave orders for sacrifices and offerings to be made to Daniel. The king said, "Your God is the greatest of all gods, the Lord over kings, the one who reveals mysteries." I know this because you have been able to explain this mystery." Then he gave Daniel a high position, presented him with many splendid gifts, put him in charge of the province of Babylon, and made him head of the royal advisers. At Daniel's request, the king put out Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in charge of the affairs of the province of Babylon. Daniel, however, remained at the royal court. Amen.